Namaste everyone and welcome back to yet another amazing episode of Empower Hour today. Why today's episode is particularly different than my previous episodes which I broadcasted before on this channel. Most of us who are spiritually awakening slowly start realizing that it's not just human beings, but there is so much happening around us in this universe, and there are so many other galactic beings more advanced than us who are trying to help humanity by teaching a very profound spiritual knowledge, because we all come from the same God. So today's guest, who has apparently become a real great friend of mine, her name is Anja, and she has been working with somebody who is a Venusian spiritual teacher for last 25 years. She is kind of a walking, talking encyclopedia of Venusian spirituality. In this episode, I have tried to understand her journey, how she got spiritually awakened, how did she meet this spiritual teacher. She also has been working very closely with some other people who are researchers, historians, authors, who are closely working with planet Venus. The outer part of the planet Venus, the scientific side of the planet Venus, combining it with the spiritual aspect, combining it with the spiritual existence. Another very peculiar thing about Anja is that she has already been working on her soul mission for last 25 years. However, she met her twin flame last year, and that was kind of shifting gears. She completely got into a different zone, a different phase of her awakening, and it was ignited, and her spiritual progress really happened fast in the last year. This is a very amazing example to see, because normally what I have seen happening is that once you get onto a twin flame journey, you start your spiritual progress, and at a certain milestone in your twin flame journey, your mission will start unlocking. But Anja's case is a little different. She already started working on her mission for last 25 years, and she met her twin flame last year. And of course, there is so much more for her to learn, and there is so much more for her to explore. So in this episode, she is describing how she awakened, how she started working on her mission, how she met her Venusian spiritual mentor, how she met other people who are working. So it seems that her soul mission is pretty much related to planet Venus and the teachings, the spiritual teachings which are coming from the ascended beings from planet Venus. I really feel that all those who are watching this channel should really listen to Anja very keenly, because she's really putting forward very important points in this interview for all those who are twin flames and trying to understand this journey and really trying to grow spiritually on this path. It's high time for all of us to grow out of this twin flame label and see beyond and start connecting the dots, because I really feel that the twin flame journey is closely related to the intergalactic or interplanetary existence of all of us, because I'm sure most of the people who are in the twin flame journey in the human body over here are related to some sort of interplanetary or intergalactic civilizations. They are already knowing those places, and they are here to do something as their mission. So this is my first episode where I'm opening this topic for the first time on this channel, and I feel that I'm guided to do this, and this sort of a topic is going to come more and more on my channel henceforth, and I would definitely like to have your feedback on whatever I'm sharing in this episode. I don't want to take too much of your time in the introduction, but let me welcome our today's honored guest, a beautiful lady from Germany, Anja.
Thank you so much, Padnyaa. It's really a pleasure, and it's an honor being with you, and that I met you. I can only say thank God for the internet, otherwise I wouldn't have met you, but it's really such a wonderful friendship and connection.
I'm sure that there is definitely some sort of a higher purpose why all of us are being so well connected right now. Even those who are watching us right now everybody feels so connected with each other, even though we don't know each other personally.
We should really not underestimate the things that we can't see. What we can't see is that we are, through our connections, we are all little stars on this planet, and we are lighting up every time we have a smile, every time we share some insights with each other, and we feel, I mean, I now even feel energy flowing through my body.
When we started connecting, like it was your first session and we spoke on Zoom, and you gave me so many details about your observation, about how you have been on your twin flame journey and your spiritual observations, I would say. And I was really amazed by your eye for detail in when it comes to introspecting your own process or your own inner growth. And I really want to take this chance to tell this to everybody, that when it comes to Anja, she's like the live, excited, walking, talking kind of a spiritual seeker, because I think you have a really amazing energy. I really feel that you are growing so fast because you bring that whole excitement and willingness to learn intricately and ask small questions and paying attention to that detail. And I think that is what makes it really amazing. So I really wanted to mention this on this video, that I have always, enjoyed talking to you. I think it's high time for all the people who are watching this video or who have been awakening to have the sort of excitement Anja has.
For me, it's very important to connect with others, with other twin flames even. I can even say that, because talking with another twin flame who has such a high realization like you have, and who has already had so many experiences in sharing, helps tremendously to go through this and to find really the place of peace and healing.
You are the first person I'm opening up this whole chapter of people who are on the spiritual journey, are getting in contact with different galactic beings, ascended masters, different star systems. So far on my channel, I have always been talking about twin flames and their physical challenges to deal with their twin flame. So this is something which is very close to the topic, but not really so deeply discussed, or even I have not even discussed this topic of star seeds or galactic beings being in human body and being here on earth and guiding humanity in any manner. So I think you are the first one who is actually opening this topic on this channel, and I'm glad that you are opening that, because I have seen your work and I now know you enough after so many multiple sessions.
Of course, we are telling, or I'm telling my story, or I'm sharing what I know, so that others feel inspired. It's not sitting here because I feel I'm important, or because I feel I have to desperately tell my story because it is so wonderful. I feel like I'm invited, and I thank you very much, Padnyaa, for your invitation and for this conversation. So it's coming from the inside and from my heart, and not basically from my mind. It's coming from both sides. So I'm sometimes a little bit circling around myself. So you have to be patient with me until I'm really going into the flow.
I don't necessarily want to label this as a twin flame journey, but as you have been going through a twin flame experience, there is this major difference I see in your journey, is that you awaken to a twin flame journey much later, but your soul path or your soul purpose has already been active since quite long back, right? So I want to ask you that how did your spiritual journey start, and how it has been for you?
With my inner search for love, I would say I can reduce it really, or condense it to that. Because when I was born in Berlin. I'm the only child, and I had an environment which gave me all that I needed in a material way, and the basic necessities on the emotional and everything was also provided. But when I grew up, I think it started with puberty, between age 12 and 15 mainly, that I was already falling in love with boys and that I was looking for love. It started at this early age. I just got the realization that it is my soul's path, that it was really meant to be unreciprocated every time. So I never had an experience of being loved by the object of my attention, by the boy, in return. And of course, this was a very painful experience in a way, beginning very, very early. My first trauma I had with 6 or so. After a holiday, I came back into my little school as a little Anja, and the boy I was in touch with before was not interested in me anymore after the 6 weeks pause. So this was my first, like, what? And this repeated itself over and over again. And I'm telling this because this is the most important from my soul's perspective, my desire. I already was born with the desire to find love and to realize love. Of course, I did not know this at this early age and in my first decades. What I'm really interested in mentally and spiritually, I'm not finding in this world. So this was another thing I was interested in. I started early with being interested in astrology and knowing myself, in getting to know myself, in metaphysics, esoteric teachings. It was pretty early already, with 15, 16 years, that I started with that. So I felt like I'm not at home here. This was really something I always had a longing for. Home. Of course, I did not know what home is and where home is. But this was certainly the point of attraction to my first encounter with what we sometimes say catalyst. It sounds not so nice. So I would prefer, she is my teacher, my spiritual teacher, and the one who kind of brought the key to that hole that was inside of me, looking for this answer. What is love, and where is love, and why does this boy and this man not love me the way I want to be loved and the way I love him? So this was an important path or an important period of my whole life, this quest for love. My spiritual journey really truly began when I saw my spiritual teacher, who is actually from Venus, in a TV interview.
Okay.
94, 93, sometime in that period. So I was never a TV junkie. I turned on the TV and there she sat. And it was an immediate feeling of authenticity that I sensed. I sensed this woman is real. What she says was impressive. She said things like, imagination is the key to creation. And until then, I never heard something so wise and so logic and so pure in a TV interview. Never, or in my world, or where I grew up, or not at school. It was the beauty, the looks, the way she looked, the charisma that she had, and what she said impacted me. It touched me. And I remembered her name, Onek, and I remembered that there was just her autobiography published in German, which is in English. The English title was From Venus I Came. And so this was why the people who were in contact with her at that time brought her into public, into TV shows and lectures and workshops. So this seed was planted within me when I saw her that time, but I didn't follow up. I didn't really contact her, or I didn't immediately started to do a research or find her or see her in real person. But my soul's path led me to opening an esoteric bookstore 3 years later in a different city. So I moved away from my home city. I moved to a different city. I had a new friends circle because I was already on my quest I was interested in esoterics and astrology. And then I got this idea that I would love to be self-employed. And so everything was coming together, and I opened this esoteric bookstore in Landshut in Bavaria in Germany. And then I remembered, oh, Omnek Onik, there's a book from that woman. And I ordered that book from myself, this autobiography, From Venus I Came. And while I was opening this bookstore and busy with business, I read this book for myself. And I was touched in a way in my soul that I was never touched before. Because while reading this story, this autobiography, it's about her life on Venus, on the astral level of Venus. And it's telling the history of Venus, the history of mankind on Earth, and the origin that we are truly in reality, that we are souls traveling through the dimensions, making experiences. And she's conveying the laws of the supreme deity. And all this is really interwoven with this feeling of love, of pure love, and so sensitive and empathic. And it felt true, and it felt loving for me. It felt like it not only touched me, I can now explain it because now it's many years later. At that time, of course, I didn't have this clear realization what really happened, but it was really that it touched me on many levels. It touched me intellectually and spiritually and on the soul level with love. And then what happened next was that I ordered the other book that was just published at the same time, 97, which was called Handbook of Venusian Spirituality. And then it went even deeper. The feeling of, oh, I feel I really have to see that woman. I have to meet her. There was this urgent calling. And then I contacted the publisher. So fast forward, 3 weeks later, she and her former manager came to my bookstore in Landshut in Bavaria. Because she was in Germany. She was mostly working in Germany. This was her destiny. It was her mission to bring this truth to the world. And for some reasons, which we will certainly find out later, or which I partly might already feel or sense or know, she was called to mostly be present in Germany. So I became her contact person. Of course, I didn't know that on that level and with that lifelong impact at that time. This is why she was drawn and guided to come to my place, to come to Landshut, to meet me, to make a connection with me. So this connection in the physical was made. And I was again touched. I was very excited. I was very enthusiastic. I was really triggered on all kinds of levels, but of course in a positive way. I was really like feeling happy, blissfully happy with that connection. And in the first meeting, so it was sometime I think in fall 97 or so, I was not really able yet to calm down in a way so that I could really feel her in a deeper area of myself. I was still very emotional and very excited, nervous. So what happened was that she returned approximately 6 months later or so. And so I already had enough time to get used to her being in my life, being part of my life in a way. And when she was there for the second time, and we had a gathering, sitting in a circle together in a little workshop group in my store, in my bookstore. I think you know this from India, right? This darshan.
Yeah.
Or gaze.
Yeah.
This is nothing that happens on purpose. It's not that she was waiting for my eyes to find her eyes or so. It was just happening. And it happened in the moment when I was relaxed enough and calm enough within me so that I could receive the gaze, not the blaze, but the gaze. And then when I received it, it flew into my heart and into my soul. And then I felt the love, the unconditional love, for the very first time. And that was basically it. I mean, if we want to talk about a beginning or a starting point of my spiritual journey, I could say this was my first initiation, first time that I felt what unconditional love is. And it continued because it was not just a moment, it stayed for some hours or even days. Because what really then happened, and what made her also her ears and her eyes, because she also needed the validation, I feel, from her perspective, because she was guided by her masters, by her Venusian guides and by her spirit guides to be with me and to spend time with me, because she already felt there is some reason behind it, a missionary reason, because the Venusians, I can say that, are mission oriented. They have the purpose. They are here in contact with us, connecting with us to bring truth, to bring teachings, and to bring the unconditional love and the remembrance who we truly are, because we need to remember who we are to become the best versions, or the best what we can be.
Yeah.
And this is a big process of transformation that we have to go through. And this is the reason why they are bringing the teachers and the energy and the love to reach people. So I think this was a big introduction. Maybe you want to ask or want to say something at this point.
I have a couple of very basic questions which I want you to speak on, because many people might also be questioning this as you are talking, that when you say that this lady came from Venus, means what exactly? What is Venus? Why you are saying that she's a Venusian? And if you can elaborate something more about, the being her as a star seed, or whatever you want to speak on that particular topic.
First of all, we have to remember, it's not something that we have to learn, but to remember that the physical is just the form that we as a soul are currently residing in. It's not our true home. We are making an experience in the physical form. So, and when I say we or I mean I as spirit, I as soul. I'm not the body and I'm not the mind. I'm the soul. That's the life force that is within me. And we have more than just the physical body. We have all, and in Indian philosophy and teachings, you are all very, very aware of this truth, that we have emotional body, that we have a mental body, and that we have many different bodies. They are in different teachings, they are called sometimes differently and defined differently, but all in all, it's like we are soul, and we are surrounded as soul by different bodies, and the physical body is just the outer kind of shell. And the planets are the same. The planets also have a physical body, and they're also a soul, a spiritual body. And so the essence, when I'm now zooming in the planet Venus, it's with all stars or with all planets, everything is alive in the universe. And Venus, physically now, is the closest planet to Earth. And the Venusians are also partly our ancestors.
Okay.
So the star seeds, or the people on Earth and life on Earth, has been seeded and planted millions and billions of years ago by many, many extraterrestrial beings who brought life to Earth. It's not so evolution, like everything is just happening by accident. This is just the very, very limited scientific perspective, which is not the truth. There is evolution, yes, but life does not emerge by accident. Life comes from spirit, from God or creator. So Venus, when I'm now really putting it very, very short, as easy, as simple as possible, Venus is a planet like Earth. It's very similar. It's a sister planet. It has many similarities when it comes to size, and it was once also, and it is populated, but not visible for the scientific eyes on Earth. So the astronomers and those who are looking with just the material eyes, they can't really see the life there. This is in a different level, in a different level of density. I learned now last year that there's also physical life, but it's mostly underground. And when they have a higher consciousness, the Venusian, because they are partly our ancestors, and they have a different higher spiritual awareness. They are on a different level of consciousness. So they can travel also with spaceships through the universe, through the solar system. They can come. They can make themselves visible, but only if they want to. They can also hide themselves behind clouds, or they are just vibrating in a higher frequency. They have mastered this. They have mastered matter. So they can decide if they want to be visible or not. And it's also a matter of resonance. So when I'm looking at something just with physical eyes, and not only just with the physical eyes, but also with the physical mindset, a very, very limited mental, materialistic mindset, that's all that I can see. And that's all that I can hear. But when I start to realize all the other levels that I am, I start to also see and hear, feel and sense in other dimensions and multidimensionally.
So when you started awakening, as you said, that this was like way back, right? 97, 98. That time, a lot of people were not even awakened. Like right now, the way you see so many people awakening, there is some sort of a mass awakening happening now. But in 97, 98, it was a completely different scenario. So when it comes to being introduced to somebody who is a Venusian and she's having these teachings, what was your belief system like? Did you really feel it difficult to believe it? I don't feel from what you are narrating that you felt any difficulty in believing it, but I particularly want to ask that question about belief systems. How did you navigate that?
And it's interesting that you ask that, because I didn't have a belief system. And this is thanks to my parents, because they did not force any kind of belief system or religion or something on me. And I did not have this belief system. I only had the quest for truth and the quest for love in my heart. So and this is again the thing with the multidimensionality that I was trying to explain. When I saw Omnek, and when I met her, and when I felt her and was with her, my belief system was not in danger and was not triggered because I didn't have a belief system. I didn't have to believe her truth or her whether she's telling the truth or not, because I knew it was the truth. And this was the soul that was ignited within me. This is what I meant with the first initiation. My mind did not have any problems. It was, I just felt and I just knew that this is the truth.
That's so true, because even in my case, whenever I came across any information which was otherwise unbelievable for people, it was just the knowing inside that I don't have to validate it from anywhere, because you just have the knowing. And I think that's the core factor of anybody's spiritual journey, that you have to trust your heart.
But I must also, of course, admit that it's not an easy process.
Yes.
I mean, I did not have to fight myself through my belief system. This was never my problem. My problem was more dealing with that high, pure love in the physical. I had to, and this is, of course, the whole spiritual journey. It's still ongoing. It's a big process to integrate this knowing and to apply it to one's life, because you still are here in the physical. You have to deal with other people, you have to find a job, you have to earn money somehow, and of course this journey is just starting. It's really like a starting point. Yeah, it's not easy. So whether you have fights with your own belief system, or whether you have fights with believing it or knowing it, and then what to do with it, and how to process all this. And it's not only an information for the mind, it's also an energy, because the love of God is pure energy. And when this is, then your soul remembers that it is love and that it comes from a spiritual place which is not physically locatable, your mind has to, it's really a journey. And this is probably also why we call this a spiritual journey, or the twin flame journey. This is now, of course, something else, but it's all we are calling this. We are giving it the name or the term or the label journey, because it's a trip.
Right. So you started working along with Onek since quite long, right? So how your work has been
25 years now.
I think apart from her, there are also like other people who are also associated with you, who are also channeling a lot of information from different planets.
Well, we are not considering channeling. I don't say that it is wrong or that there's something wrong with channeling information. There's much information has been coming through in the last decades through channel mediums, which is very, very important and very true and very beautiful. We are not putting our own consciousness aside to channel a different entity. We are channeling ourselves. We are channeling our souls. So this is the soul realization comes with this connection with our own guides or spirit friends and guides, but we are not channeling other entities.
There is this person called Dr. Raymond. So he also is coming up with a lot of books and information about ascended being from Saturn. In one of his books, I had read, like, when he is coming up with all these sorts of books where he's putting in all this information from different star systems, how exactly he is receiving that information if he's not channeling.
It's not channeling. Well, I'm just quickly giving an idea of Dr. Raymond Keller's work. These are his books. It's huge.
Okay.
Exactly. Padnyaa, my God, right? My God. And the first book, Venus Rising, I translated to German. So even in German, it's such a big sad book.
Okay.
So it's really, he's a doctor, and he's not a medical doctor, but he is a very educated man. So what he brings in his books is based on research connected with spiritual experience. He's not channeling nobody and no entity. So what he's really bringing, he had as a young man, when he was in his 20s, he had a sighting of a spaceship. So this was his first encounter with something from an outer world, and this started his journey. I'm sure that when we would ask him, he would also say that in his heart he always had the feeling of, I want to know the truth and I want to find things. So what I'm now saying, or what I'm trying to say, is this was his first encounter that he's also publicly talking about, that he saw a spaceship, and this started his quest for knowing, researches, finding out about UFOs. Especially I'm aware of the ones in America, which were, for example, very popular, very famous name is George Adamski. Another one was Howard Menger. These were contacted by extraterrestrials. Howard Menger, for example, had a Saturnian contact, and George Adamski was contacted by Venusians. And he also saw spaceship. He was flying in spaceship. Both were invited to travel through the solar system in spaceships. So they received really physical contact with these extraterrestrial beings. Again, something that was mission-oriented. The Venusians and the other benevolent extraterrestrials started to contact Earthlings to bring awareness to the people, to bring awareness to the human beings on Earth about life on other planets, about the existence of other galaxies, and the truth of origin and history of mankind and everything. So they brought information to teach and to educate and to remember people on Earth. But they also, of course, came with sightings with real physical UFOs. So what developed in the last century was also, again, a little bit, you could consider it as a split. There are a group of people who are mostly focused on the outer phenomena, on extraterrestrial contacts, looking for spaceships and collecting information, and also the crop circles are connected with that, the signs in the fields which come from its symbols and its information brought through. And there more the spiritual part or group who immediately felt like, wow, there is other information, spiritual information, more the interest from that. And what Dr. Raymond Keller is doing, he's combining these two fields. He is bringing this in solid book. So he's really piling, he has almost a library where he is, he has a storage room with piles and piles and hundreds and thousands of documents and photos. And he's really a researcher. So he connects all that. And due to his sincere and authentic quest for truth and knowledge, he was also blessed with spiritual awakening and spiritual experiences. And so he is really what in his books, they are again multidimensional, because you can read true stories, true documentation, true whatever happened and what people say and what is conveyed by other researchers and so on. So it's really interesting to read. But within it, the energy is also bringing forth the other experiences and the knowing, the deep knowing that Dr. Raymond Keller is blessed with. One little example of what he is sharing in his talks or in his lectures is when he's talking about his own experiences. He said that he had a near-death experience when he was, I think it's 10 years ago, meanwhile. It was in 2012, I think. So he had a severe heart surgery. His heart was taken out of his body, and it was a quadruple bypass surgery. So it was I think an 8-hour surgery or something. And during that time, his soul left his body. He's already a little elder now, so he is close to 70. It was when he was around 60 years. And he had this out-of-body experience. And when he was outside of his body as a soul, he met his oversoul and he saw his life incarnations, his previous incarnation. He had a huge revelation. He could decide whether he wants to return and to continue his life, to bring forth the Venusian spirituality and to continue writing his books and continue bringing this information to the people, or to leave the planet. And he decided that he wants to fulfill his mission, to return into his body and to recuperate and to continue to write these books and to bring this truth and this information to the people. And this is when it started. So the first Venus Rising book was published in English in 2015, as far as I remember. And since then, he's continually conveying and bringing forth these teachings.
So it is certainly not a coincidence that you are again associated with somebody who is working on a Venusian spirituality and teaching. I'm definitely sure that it's not a coincidence. So what is it that you're understanding when it comes to your mission? That, okay, these people are anyways doing their mission, but what is your role according to you? What is your understanding?
Well, first of all, awaken myself, fully realize, to fully awaken in this lifetime. This is why I'm receiving these memory codes step by step throughout my whole life, beginning with Omnek. Yes, in 97, 2000, I had a big experience of remembrance of being soul, and all my experiences, of course, and last year through Raymond. So again, this was my upgrade. And this is also when you and I started to become connected, to find our connection, because I contacted you because of my upgrade of spiritual awakening. I again am going through a next phase. So it's all interconnected. It's my own awakening, and my own awakening is connected with sharing what the Venusian's teachings are and the Venusian spirituality. So it's all within me. I'm like a storage chip or so. I'm a human in the process of awakening, and I have all these information from my personal experience, which is so important, because it's not that I read everything, and it's not just mental knowing that I have and that I'm sharing. So dealing with it and finding my way through, bringing it forth to the public and sharing it with people, to Omnek and Ray. So Omnek was kind of my female perspective teacher, and then Ray came, bringing more the male perspective. And this is again such a huge realization, and this is changing my whole personality since Ray came. There are multi-faceted other additional aspects awakening within me, bringing me, kind of really pushing me from the inside, saying from the inside, now go and show yourself and step out and share your knowledge and share what you have experienced and bring it to the world. This is what I would say that this is the main purpose of my soul, and why I had all these contacts now since more than 25 years. And yeah, to share it, to bring the light and the love and the truth in my way, through my physical self, to the people and to the earth.
That's amazing. So in what sense your twin flame experience has affected your work, or vice versa? How has your work has been affected by your twin flame experience? Because you met your twin flame, you were already doing this work. So now there is definitely something which is impacting your work or your understanding as you have met your twin flame. Would you like to say something on that?
I just know that this is really next level. It is next level heart opening. So what I experienced last year, and I'm still processing it, so it's not so that I can easily put it into words. Obviously, my soul and my spirit guides felt like now it's the time for next level awakening for Anja, I would say. You know, when I met Omnic for the first time, I had my first experience of unconditional love. And last year, the second, and it's going deeper. First time after my encounter, it was like on fire, and I had to really walk and process and almost getting, didn't know what to do with this energy. So it's really like all connected and all flowing with love, and we are finding here somebody, and I don't even have the energy and the interest anymore to connect with people from my past. I don't even send Happy New Year's anymore and birthday wishes, because even that is part of the old patterns and system. I don't do that anymore. What I just realized yesterday is really that my personality is going through a change. And you know what? I feel on a personal level, on a personality level, I was never the woman that I want to be. So this was looking at this from the outside. I never had the magnetic receptive mode personality that I need or that I want to have and that I want to be a woman at the side of the man that I love. So I feel at the moment I'm really going through a big transformation process also when it comes to my own Anja woman personality. I feel that I'm now transforming into a new Anja that is eventually able to really be with my man.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And yeah.
I was always excited. I was always in the chaser mode. And now I'm really trying to, I'm not finished yet. Otherwise he would already be here. And this, again, it's not in peace yet. I'm still excited. There's still a fear.
Yeah.
And there's still an expectation. There's still this expectation of my good one. When am I finally through with that so that he can really stand here? Will he eventually come? These kind of questions are still running through my mind. And I know that as long as these questions are there, I'm not in the place where I want to be.
True, very true.
It really threw me into new levels of purifying myself, purifying not myself. My soul is perfect and pure and holy and sacred. I'm talking about the belief systems and the structures and mental parts and everything. And this is all connected with the transformation of the earth that we are all at the moment going through. What I really see, so I had a huge I'm growing again, or remembering into deeper levels. I remembered what I remembered in the year 2000, being the androgynous soul. With that is also connected the knowing or the realization that as a soul, we at some point when we come into polarity, when we start traveling from the center of creation as a soul, when we are created as a soul, that we are then starting to travel through the levels of dimension in a divine feminine and divine masculine polarity. And it's really amazing, Padnyaa, that I already had this realization on some level 25 years ago. What I realized and what I realized here and understood here is that in our times of transformation of the planet, of ascension. We are in a time of spiritual awakening and ascension, that many twin flames are meant to find back together. And this is why they encounter, why they meet. In my personal awakening, it was like, I know that I was ready for that experience because of all the other experiences through my whole life. I was kind of prepared for that. It was not my first spiritual awakening. It was just a next level of spiritual awakening. And it's all connected with my journey, with my mission, with sharing, and also with the energy of this kind of divine masculine that is connected with me now in a different way than it ever was. It's more coming into consciousness, and it's also a transfer of consciousness, bringing forth energy to me, or remembrance that is now assisting me on my path and in my mission. What I think I said it now from a very high level, but when it comes to the real physical experience, I personally know that we really have to, and you put it so perfectly also in many of your videos, Padnyaa, that it is really about remembering our divine connection. So it's a trinity. It's not basically about the outer person. The outer person is another incarnation of the same soul, but it has a different physical body and it has a different mind. So, and we have a physical body and a mind. So it's a journey of the soul. It's not the journey of the mind. When it comes also it starts in the highest level. It starts in soul creation. This is where the journey started. This is what I was just trying to explain. It started when we were created as souls. And so here is when we meet, or when we have this kind of experience, and you know it, that it can be any kind of experience. You don't even have to necessarily encounter this person physically. It can also be an online meeting nowadays, thank God for the internet. We have many different levels of communication and of connecting. It's about remembering our soul truth, that we are soul, and finding our soul's truth, purpose, mission, and above all, connection with divine again. It's about coming home.
Absolutely.
This is so important.
So when it comes to Twin Flame Collective, because as you're already working on bringing up so much information about the Venusian spirituality, what is it that you really want to say or convey to all those people who are on their spiritual awakening journey, as well as they have found their spiritual counterpart?
It's all about unconditional love. Meeting or encountering our twin flame brings us, the purpose is to bring us back to unconditional love. And unconditional love is what we truly are as a soul. Without remembering that we are soul, that I am soul, I will not stop suffering. So I feel everybody wants to be happy. I know every healthy human being wants to be happy and at peace, don't we? And this realization that this is not dependent on anything outside brings us back to our God consciousness. God consciousness means I'm within me whole, no matter what happens on the outside, no matter what I think that should happen, no matter what I think somebody else should do. It's all false. It's all illusionary. It's all outside craving. And the realization of the twin flame journey is the same as realization that I am soul, And this is really turning it all from the inside to the outside, from the outside to the inside. Everything that we thought that was true and real, all these old relationship patterns that are worldwide still active and within us, like when I meet somebody, I fall in love with somebody, he or she has to do like this and that and the other, and then we have to marry, have children, be happy. All these kind of have tos and supposed tos and expectations and everything. This is all based on false belief systems that are implemented in our society through, and this would go too far, kind of it's an evolutionary process. I could put it just in a simple positive way. And the evolutionary process is now giving us the chance to end the separation. And this is why we are meeting our love in another human being. We meet ourselves in another human being to find our soul and our God connection back. And this is connected with unconditional love. And here it comes again to the Venusians and to the other. It's not only the Venusians, as you know, there are also other star systems who are bringing forth the same basic information, because the truth of God has not a physical home. The truth of God is in the spiritual realm, but it's of course coming through different channels. And one channel is Venus, because Venus is so connected to the earth because of our ancestry. But there are also other galaxies and other systems who are connected to seeding of humankind on earth, like the Pleiadians or maybe Syrians. I can't really talk so much about others because I don't know them. I only know my real Venusian contact, but the information or the teaching is coming from God, and it's coming to us. And so when we meet, this is to remember us.
As I'm understanding that there is a lot of information about Venusians, and you are pretty much well versed with what they teach. Is there anything which you want to bring forward into this episode as their teaching?
Oh, yes, I would love to.
Yes.
This is an illustration. This illustration helps to understand the journey of soul through the levels of dimensions, and it's a concept. This is a concept that Omnek brought forth in her teachings and in her lectures, in her workshops, and it's all in her books. It's everywhere interwoven, because this is really a very simplified, very, very easy concept to help the mind to understand the levels of consciousness. And while the mind is listening to this information and looking and trying to and understanding and following it, the mind might receive an experience of accessing these higher realms. It's a symbol for accessing higher realms when we are making ourselves aware of this concept, of this illustration. I mean, to really talk about it in detail, it could take an hour or
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We need another video for that.
We will.
Yeah.
But we will. I will now just share it very, very condensed, very simplified. So when we look at this, we have in the center of creation. This is the center of creation. The white circle is God. God, or the supreme deity, whatever you, of course, there is no name for that because it's pure energy. It's the pure source of creation. And the second is the yellow ring is standing for the soul dimension. So God, or the creative force, the source of creation, is creating the souls from this center. So when we imagine that the journey is starting, the journey of soul is starting at this point. So when we would zoom, if we would zoom in, we would see that there is a little, I did this drawing once, and it actually, this is now very interesting, because when we're really zooming in here, and I could create more details in it, these are actually eventually even the twin souls traveling through the levels of dimensions, because at this point the soul is still one unit, it's one soul. And when it starts its journey through the dimensions into the lower realms, and the lower realms means that the frequency is getting denser.
Yeah.
The atoms are vibrating on a slower level. This is how the universe is. You can imagine that it is created like that. These are the non-polar worlds, worlds of unity, where everything is just one pure consciousness, one pure stream, or one pure being. And when the soul starts to enter the lower realms, it starts to wrap itself into bodies that have the same frequency as the level that it's traveling through, so that it can make an experience in that level. So for example, when it comes here, here's the border. Yeah, these are the non-dual worlds, the worlds of unity, and these are the polar worlds. So this is, in short terms, the mental, the causal, the emotional, or the astral, and the physical realm. The soul is created in the center of creation. The soul is one unit. And here, to make experiences in the lower realms, it kind of splits itself into the female and the male polarity, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And then these two, it's one soul in two, traveling in two bodies from that point on, through the incarnations, through the worlds. And here the soul surrounds itself with a mental body that gives the soul the ability to think. Yeah. Here the soul surrounds itself with a causal body that gives the soul to have memories, store the memories in the soul of all experiences. In the astral, the soul surrounds itself with the emotional body that gives the soul the ability to have feelings, to have emotions. And in the physical, the soul surrounds itself with a physical body, which gives the soul the ability to have experiences. And the physical realm does not start with the human body, but with the mineral body. The physical, when the soul enters, the first experience the soul is making when it enters the physical realm is in the mineral state, in the mineral phase, and it can be any mineral on any planet in any time. Fast forward, the next level of evolution is the plant. So the soul then becomes a plant. It can be a flower, it can be a tree, it can be some bush, it can be a vegetable. And when it has experienced everything in the plant universe, it enters the animal kingdom. And when it comes into the animal kingdom, it is again a huge evolutionary process for the soul, because it experiences maybe some fish, it can experience then a higher animal like an elephant, or later even become a pet as a cat or a dog, and being closer to the human kingdom as a very, very close animal. And then the soul starts to enter the human kingdom and become a human. And there are also, of course, other forms of making experiences in physical form. So this is really just trying to give an overview over the level of dimensions and the soul and the soul's journey. So where we are now, Padnyaa, this is the reason why the Venusians and the extraterrestrials are bringing us this information and these teachings and this truth, is because we are now going through a circle or a cycle. The evolution of planet Earth is now coming to an end. And this is why old ancient calendars ended in the last years. Yeah, some I think they ended in 2012 or 2000. And this is because the prophecies of the old ancient wise elders, they knew the world would end, but it's not about the physical world. It's not about an apocalypse. It's about the old ending, the old world of three-dimensional limited separation experience. So we are going through the ascension process through the into the fifth dimension. And this is why we have to remember, or why we now get the big chance to remember our soul's consciousness, why we have twin flame encounters to remember soul's consciousness, so that we go with the planet and with the evolution to a higher realm and to a higher state of consciousness and of being.
Absolutely. And even the way you explained those different realms, when the soul is intertwining and descending from the higher consciousness to the physical, I think we always also talk about a twin flame union happening on all those levels, like astral aspect and mental union and emotional union and spiritual union. So as we say that union happens on 5 aspects, that exactly is reflecting in your diagram as well. So
exactly, and these are all the new. This is what I wanted, what I said. You know, this is all again new for me, and this is why I'm calling this spiritual awakening that I had, that I'm going through now, an upgrade, because this is now next level for me as well, to realize all these connections and to realize that. And this is why it also explains so well why the twin flame in 2 different bodies is having different minds and different bodies, because they also went through different ways of evolution in their separate bodies. So what happens when we have this encounter is usually called like the bubble love, right? We are remembering this huge unconditional love and this magic, like, wow. And this is really, I mean, I experienced it. I can really say that this, from the first moment, I knew this is not the typical falling in love thing. I had falling in love things and experiences throughout my whole life, because, as I said in the beginning, I never had a partnership or a marriage or something like that. So it was meant to be for me that I went through experiencing the search for love. But this experience of this encounter is something else. And this is why when you experience that, it's soul recognition. It's really the memory of love on the highest level. And this is why it is, I feel, I mean, you are the expert, of course, and you know way more, and since many more years than I, what twin flame experiences, how it can look like. But what I experienced or realized pretty soon was really that it is starting in the soul dimension, and so it's coming down. It's not starting in the physical. It starts on exchanging energies on the soul, on the mental, on the causal, on the emotional level. It's coming down through the chakras. It's reversed.
Yes,
it's a different way of awakening and experiencing love than the regular.
thank you so much for sharing. It's a pleasure to have you on this specific episode, and I'm sure we will have many more coming, because I know you are like kind of a encyclopedia when it comes to Venusian teachings. So obviously I'm going to call you again and again whenever it is possible.